Good morning. Welcome to Cool in breezy Mobile. Thanks for the acknowledgement for the Navy Band. Lieutenant, it's always great when we can have the Navy Band here. They add much to the ceremony, so can I get another round of applause for them? I'm Terry O'Brien from Austal USA. We'd like to welcome you to this morning's ceremony. It's a big day here at Austal and in Mobile and also in the city of Kansas City. We're very excited about christening this great ship, the future USS Kansas City. I would like to ask those in uniform to please remain covered throughout the ceremony. Welcome to the christening of the 22nd Littoral Combat Ship, USS Kansas City, the second ship to be named for the great city of Kansas City, Missouri. What a great day for Kansas City, Austal USA, and on behalf of the 4,000 men and women who work here at Austal USA, it is our honor to host this great ceremony this morning. Right now, I'd like to ask all our guests to rise for the arrival of the official party. Remain standing for the presentation of colors by the Naval Mobile Construction Battalion 133 Color Guard, the rendering of honors to Congressman Cleaver, and our national anthem to be presented by the Navy Band Southeast. Ladies and gentlemen, our official party. Commander Mark Gillespie, United States Navy, prospective commanding officer of the future USS Kansas City. Lieutenant Junior Grade Sarah Powell, Chaplain Corps, United States Navy, Naval Mobile Construction Battalion Center, Gulfport, Mississippi. Mrs. Paige Benish, Matron of Honor. Mr. Tim McHugh, Vice President, Littoral Combat Ship Programs, Austal USA. Mrs. Katie Soxie, Matron of Honor. Captain Nathan Schneider, United States Navy, Executive Officer, Supervisor of Shipbuilding, Gulf Coast. Mrs. Leslie Olson, Matron of Honor. Captain Michael Taylor, United States Navy, Program Manager, Littoral Combat Ships. Ms. Laura Davidson, Maid of Honor. Mr. Stan Cordana, Vice President, General Dynamics Mission Systems. Mr. Troy Schulte, City Manager, City of Kansas City. Rear Admiral John Negley, United States Navy, Program Executive Officer, Unmanned and Small Combatants. The Honorable Phyllis Baer, Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Energy, Installations, and Environment. Admiral Philip Davidson, United States Navy, Commander, Indo-Pacific Command. The Honorable Bradley Byrne, United States Representative, Alabama's 1st District. The Honorable Emmanuel Cleaver II, United States Representative, Missouri's 5th District. Our ship sponsor, Mrs. Tracy Davidson, escorted by Mr. Craig Percivali, President of Austal USA. The presentation of flowers to our ship sponsor will be made by Ms. Aspen Williams, daughter of Austal fit-out designer Wesley Williams. Let's have a round of applause for Aspen. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now render honors to Congressman Cleaver. Color guard, parade the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem. Color guard, retire the colors. Get a round of applause for the color guard. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Military guests, if you'd like to uncover, please do so. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today as we celebrate this major milestone in the life of the future USS Kansas City. I'd like to take this time to acknowledge some of our special guests who are here with us this morning. Mr. John Rothwell, founder and chairman of Austal. The Honorable Greg Albritton, State Senator, Alabama's 22nd District. The Honorable Joe Faust, State Representative, Alabama's 94th District. The Honorable Barbara Drummond, State Representative, Alabama's 103rd District. The Honorable Jamie Eisen, former State Representative, Alabama's 101st District. The Honorable Dane Haygood, Mayor of City of Daphne. The Honorable Chris Elliott, Commissioner, 2nd District, Baldwin County, Alabama. Ms. Brianna Cameron, Veterans and Military Coordinator, Office of the U.S. Representative, Manuel Cleaver II. Mr. Eddie Tyler, Superintendent, Baldwin County Schools. And Tracy, you have an interested spectator here, Ms. Rebecca Byrne, who's the future sponsor of the USS Mobile. Captain Bill Pfister, United States Navy retired, President, Navy League of the United States Mobile Chapter. Mr. Chester Brochet, Executive Director, Alabama Community College System. In addition, this morning to Commander Gillespie, we're very fortunate to have several members of the crew of the future USS Kansas City. Would you all please stand and be recognized? We have a number of distinguished visitors from the city of Kansas City this morning made the trip down here, and we're grateful that you did. Lieutenant Colonel Bob Bennett, United States Army retired Chief Innovation Officer, City of Kansas City. Rear Admiral Jeff Penfield, United States Navy retired, Chairman, Kansas City Commissioning Committee. Mr. Ward Cook, Executive Director, Kansas City Commissioning Committee. Captain Ron Brooks, United States Navy retired, Upper Midwest Regional President, Navy League of the United States. Lieutenant Commander Bob Culler, United States Navy retired, President, United States Naval Academy Alumni Association, Greater Kansas City Metro Chapter. I'd like to ask all our guests from Kansas City to please stand up. We'd like to acknowledge the shipbuilders from Austal USA, and that's everyone here. Everyone plays a critical role in making these great ships possible. I'd like to ask all Austal USA folks to stand up and be recognized, please. I'd like to acknowledge the efforts of our men and women in uniform, past and present. I'd like to ask all the active duty members as well as veterans to please rise and be in recognition of your service. Ladies and gentlemen, your host this morning, Craig Percivali, President, Austal USA.
Good morning. Congressman Cleaver, Congressman Byrne, Admiral Davidson, Secretary Baer, Admiral Nagley, Mr. Schulte, our sponsor Tracy Davidson, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Austal USA for the christening of our 11th Independence Variant LCS, the future USS Kansas City. On this first day of fall, you never know. I'm happy to say things are still very exciting here at Austal USA. We're humming along, delivering littoral combat ships and expeditionary fast transports at record pace, and boy, is it fun. So far this year, we've delivered 3 LCS, and we've received contracts for 2 more earlier this week. Thanks, John, and thanks, Bradley, for that. Absolutely. We're christening our 2nd LCS of the year today. And by the end of the year, we'll have delivered our 10th EPF and christened our 11th. With about 4,000 total employees working here today, we're the 5th largest shipbuilder in the nation, the largest aluminum shipbuilder in the world, building the largest high-speed aluminum trimarans and catamarans in the world. It's been an incredible journey getting to where we are today. One that started back in 1988 when a man named John Rothwell decided to open a new shipyard in Henderson, Western Australia, focusing on building small, high-speed aluminum catamaran ferries. Over the next few years, Austal revolutionized the high-speed ferry market by designing and building the most advanced high-speed aluminum catamarans and trimarans in the world. In 1999, John targeted the US market and decided to open up a new facility here in Mobile, Alabama. And the rest, as they say, is history. Now Austal has revolutionized the defense industry as well, designing and building the largest and most advanced high-speed aluminum catamarans and trimarans in the world today for the US Navy, and the most advanced ship manufacturing facility in the country. Austal now has a strong global presence with operations in Australia, the US here in Mobile and San Diego, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Singapore. What an incredible story, all started by a guy who simply loves to build ships and thrives to do it better than anyone else. And I've had the pleasure of working with him closely for quite a few years now, and it was interesting. 2 years ago, he called me from his hotel room before he was heading back to Australia. And he said, "Craig, I'm looking out the window over the shipyard and there's 5 ships in the water. It is the most amazing sight I've ever seen." And I'm on the other end of the call going, first, wow, I hope he's got his clothes on. But he loves this, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. John, your amazing vision, innovation, and business acumen has enabled us to be here today. Thank you so much for your steadfast support and faith in us. Congratulations on 30 years, and I'm looking forward to another 30. Thank you very, very much. Kansas City is a revolutionary and cost-effective small surface combatant with incredible speed, volume, flexibility, and firepower that meets the needs of the Navy today while having the adaptability to meet the needs of the Navy of tomorrow. A ship that will represent the best that America has to offer across the globe for decades. Manufacturing complex surface combatants efficiently at this pace takes an incredible team, and we have the best team here in the business at Austal USA. General Dynamics Mission Systems, who've been our friends and teammates from day one, along with about 1,000 suppliers across 41 states, including more than 300 right here in the Mobile and Baldwin County area, provide us with the best products and services in support of our operations. Our Navy teammates, led by Admiral Nagley, Captain Taylor, and Captain Lawrence, stand side by side with us while we work through the occasional challenge of building these complex ships. Their support and leadership has been instrumental in the success of the program as well. The support we have from our elected officials across the state, especially Senator Shelby and Congressman Byrne, along with the support from the state of Alabama and the city and county of Mobile, has been incredible. John truly made the right decision to set up shop in the United States here in Mobile. That support certainly has been critical in stabilizing both of the programs that we're involved with and in getting us to where we are today. And finally, at the core of this industry-leading team are the incredible shipbuilding professionals here at Austal USA, truly the best I've ever worked with. The Austal family is an incredible group of men and women who remain steadfast in their commitment to being the absolute best shipbuilders in the industry so that we can provide the most cost-effective and capable ships to our great Navy. Thanks so much for all that you do, all your hard work and dedication to building the finest warships on the planet. Take pride in this day, in building this ship, and take pride in the service you're providing our great nation. Great, congratulations again. Commander Gillespie, we've built you a great ship, the coolest ship on the planet. We know that you and your crew will take Kansas City to the tip of the spear, making her namesake city and all of us proud. Thank you for the service that you provide our country, and we wish you and your crew fair winds and following seas. And Tracy, we're honored to have you here today. It's said that a sponsor infuses her spirit into each new ship, providing strength and inspiration to those who serve aboard her throughout her service life. Please know that the pride and the values of those who work so hard to build Kansas City have laid a solid foundation of which you can build from. Amazing people, a great place, and the coolest ship on the planet It just doesn't get any better than this. There's no place I'd rather be, nothing else I'd rather do, and no one else I'd rather do it with. God bless the ship, those who built her, those who will sail in her, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Stan Cordana, Vice President, General Dynamics, Mission Systems. Come on up, Stan.
Thank you, Craig. Mrs. Davidson, Admiral Davidson, Representative Cleaver, Mr. Schulte, Rear Admiral Nagley, distinguished guests, family, and friends. I'm honored to represent the men and women of General Dynamics Mission Systems at this christening ceremony for Kansas City, LCS 22. We are pleased to partner with Austal on this littoral combat ship program. Kansas City is located in the most western point of Missouri. Its early history is known as one of the critical points for westward expansion. As I thought through this, it occurred to me that being on the western side of the state will be similar to Kansas City being on the west coast in San Diego, California. LCS 22 will also be a critical point as it stretches beyond the United States and finds its austere ports throughout the world. The heart and soul of every shipbuilding team is the people, as Craig had said. You know, the team that Craig Percivalli, Tim McHugh, and Dave Groudon have put together have produced this great ship. We all take great pride in delivering the most capable ship that is able to go into harm's way and take the fight to the enemy. It is a testament to the commitment of this great shipbuilding team that Kansas City and her sister ships are meeting and exceeding their operational challenges every day. General Dynamics Mission System is honored to be part of this great team and is responsible for the design, integration, activation, test, and certification of the modern total ship network and combat systems. As a system integrator, this team oversees the integration of over 19,000 pieces of equipment, 20,000 connection and cable terminations, 220 computers, 4 million lines of source code, and miles of copper and fiber optic cabling, all of which is there to enable the software-based combat management system, weapon, sensors, and communication. This ship is modular and open, from the interchangeable weapon zones to the open software architecture to the flexible mission bay and flight deck. Kansas City and her sister ships can be easily and routinely modernized to meet the ever-changing threat. Kansas City, built by the strong shipbuilding team, infused with the soul of our sponsor, Mrs. Davidson, and operated by professional sailors of this crew, is destined for great adventure and ready to answer the call of duty. I would like to thank the men and women of the military attending today and on station throughout the world. We are committed to providing you the most affordable and capable systems so you can protect our freedoms. Thank you.
Thanks, Stan. It's now my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, whose support and guidance is so important to our littoral combat ship program, Rear Admiral John Nagley, Program Executive Officer for Unmanned and Small Combatants. Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Admiral Nagley.
Well, good morning. I can't imagine being anyplace else this morning. What a great event. Representative Cleaver, Representative Byrne, Admiral Davidson, Mrs. Davidson, Secretary Baer, City Manager Schulte, Mr. Percivalli, distinguished guests and friends of LCS. Good morning and welcome. It is a great Navy day. You know, the christening of a warship is one of the Navy's most time-honored traditions, as this audience is fully aware. Traditions are an important part of our Navy. They link the past to the present. They reinforce those values we hold so dear. And a ship's commissioning also marks that moment in time when we link the ship's sponsor and the ship's crew for a lifelong relationship. And I will tell you, the crew of the Kansas City could not have a better sponsor. Ms. Davidson, your grace, wisdom, dedication, service will always be part of this great ship. Thank you for your service to our nation and the support of our Navy. You know, we are indeed a maritime nation. Shipbuilding is in our nation's blood. From the first 6 frigates constructed in 6 separate shipyards across the eastern seaboard to the construction of this great ship, the future USS Kansas City and Austal today at this magnificent facility. Shipbuilding and our Navy are inextricably linked to freedom, liberty, independence, and the ideals we hold so dear. Shipbuilding indeed requires great facilities like the one you're sitting in, but it also requires great men and women who work tirelessly every day to bring ships to life, ready to meet the nation's call to duty. And there is no better shipbuilding team than the Austal Navy team assembled here at Mobile. To this great team, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for what you do every day for our Navy and our nation. Today's Kansas City will sail into harm's way to patrol seas across the Pacific and beyond. With her shallow draft, high-speed, modular payloads, she brings tremendous flexibility to our Navy. Operating forward in congested littoral waters, engaging with our partners, ensuring freedom of navigation, and exercising critical sea control missions across the globe. I am more convinced than ever that LCS is the right ship at the right time for the Navy the nation needs. So, Commander Gillespie, as you work to bring this ship to life, know you have the steadfast support and commitment of the shipbuilding team. May God bless Kansas City, her crew, our Navy, and our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, John. It is now my honor to introduce, all the way from Kansas City, Mr. Troy Schulte, City Manager, Kansas City.
Wow. I'm just a farm kid from Iowa who thought he'd moved to the big city, so this is impressive to sit underneath this ship and understand the hours and the thousands of hours that went into the production of this beautiful ship and how it will serve this Navy and this country for the next few decades. So on behalf of a grateful city, we are tickled to death that this ship will be named after Kansas City. We want to thank Austal. We want to thank for their great work on this project. We want to thank our tremendous sponsor, Ms. Tracy Davidson, who I think represents the best of what the USS Kansas City will be. And we're glad that she's a Missouri era native. We won't mention the city she's closer to, but we understand that we're all part of one big family. And this is a gorgeous day, and we couldn't be happier for the U.S. Navy and all the partners who built this beautiful ship. Today we celebrate the christening of a great ship that reflects the best of her namesake city. Kansas City was born on the banks of the Missouri River in the 1830s, near a point where Lewis and Clark had camped several decades before. Kansas City became the starting point for the Oregon, California, and Santa Fe trails, where the country eventually settled the West. Today, Kansas City is a modern, vibrant, and innovative city and has been recognized as America's first smart city. As we send forward this great ship that in so many ways reflects her namesake city, may the USS Kansas City and the officers and sailors who man her always find calm seas, the wind always at their back, and most importantly, everlasting peace.
Thank you so much. It is now my honor to introduce the Honorable Phyllis Baer, Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Energy, Installations, and Environment. Secretary, welcome to Mobile.
Thank you, Craig, very much. Representative Cleaver, Representative Byrne, Mrs. Davidson, Admiral Davidson, Admiral Negley, distinguished guests, shipbuilders, veterans, family crew, good morning to you all. It is truly an honor for me to be here speaking before you, before this magnificent ship, and at a ceremony that I never dreamed that I would have the privilege to be a part of. It is an honor to represent the 76th Secretary of the Navy, Mr. Richard V. Spencer, and to be a part of this time-honored tradition. It's also a blessing to be afforded the opportunity to be with people who every day support our wonderful Navy, our great nation, in such a meaningful and impactful way. And if you could see this view from here, I think you could see the word impactful. On behalf of your Navy and Secretary Spencer, I want to express our sincere appreciation to the extraordinary men and women of Austal USA and of its dedicated network of suppliers, so important. And also I want to express my thanks to all those who worked very hard to make today's ceremony possible. I am truly inspired by all the skilled tradesmen and women who came together to build this magnificent warship. Your dedication, your hard work, it's all a testament of the American way, working united in a singular purpose to ensure our nation is safe and secure now, well into the future. It's a thrill to stand here and witness the culmination of your combined effort and this ship beside me. As evidenced by the recent contract awards that were mentioned just this week, there will no doubt be many more of these ceremonies here in the coming years, and we thank Austal. The Navy is counting on Austal as a dependable and reliable partner in helping to deliver truly the capable Navy that our nation needs. This is the second ship to bear the name of the proud city, Kansas City. I can think of no finer symbol to represent the strength of the citizens of Kansas City better than this magnificent warship. The city, Kansas City, has a long legacy of service to her nation. The men and women of Kansas City contributed to World War II effort by building over 6,600 B-25 bombers in those Kansas City plants that led to the victory of that great war. And also the hundreds of active duty and reserve sailors that are serving today from the greater Kansas City area. This ship will honor her city and will pay tribute to the great strength and courage of all Kansas City citizens. And I'm also certain that she will serve as proudly and bravely as her predecessor. Like her namesake, the USS Kansas City will be strong and always ready to fight. As a littoral combat ship, she will be fast, she will be agile, and capable of operating independently in both the open oceans and also close to shore. She will defend the United States as well as our allies, and she will proudly serve as an ambassador of America and a visible symbol of American power in foreign waters. Once again, I want to thank everyone, civilian and military, who have worked so hard to get the USS Kansas City before us. The men and women of Team Austal, I thank you for a job well done. Mrs. Davidson, the USS Kansas City and her crew are truly blessed to have you as their sponsor. Commander Gillespie, I wish you nothing more but the best to you and the crew in the days ahead. May God bless this fine ship, her crew, her captain, and may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Secretary Baer. It is now my pleasure to introduce Admiral Philip Davidson, Commander, Indo-Pacific Command. In this very important and highly visible position, Admiral Davidson commands all of the forces in the Pacific Theater. Most importantly, he is the husband of our ship's sponsor, Tracy. Last night, Admiral Davidson told me that this was the first christening he's ever attended. That's amazing. I wonder if her being sponsored had something to do with that? A little bit? Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Philip Davidson.
Good morning, Mobile. It's great to see you today. It is true, I am the man who escorted Tracy Davidson to Mobile, Alabama. Thank you so much, Craig, for the introduction. I'm honored to join Congressman Cleaver, Congressman Byrne, and our other guest speakers here today. I'd like to also extend a very warm welcome to the members of the Kansas City Commissioning Committee and the citizens of Kansas City that are here today. Also, our industry partners here at Austal and GDMS, local elected officials, and of course the LCS commanding officers that are here today in addition to Commander Gillespie. As a proud native of the Show Me State, it is truly an honor for my wife Tracy and I to be part of the christening and indeed the life of Kansas City. And as anyone from the great state of Missouri knows, it is not truly an event unless there is family. We also have our daughter Laura here, nieces Leslie Olson, Paige Benish, native Kansas Cityan Paige Benish and Katie Saxey as maids and matrons of honor. I may be a little biased, but I don't believe the Navy could have selected a better ship sponsor than Tracy. No one knows more than I her commitment and dedication to the Navy, our sailors, their families. She's a keen advocate for military families and family readiness, and she's been a beacon of grace and energy for the Navy spouses everywhere, and I could not be proud of her today. I have still more to say about Tracy. As we gather for the christening of the Kansas City, we are undertaking a grand Navy tradition that began with the Constitution, the famous old Ironsides you've read about in stories and seen in films. That christening occurred in Boston in 1797. Her sponsor then, the captain, James Seaver, stood on the weather deck at the bow, and at 15 minutes after 12, as is quoted, she commenced a movement into the water with such steadiness, majesty, and exactness as to fill every heart with sensations of joy and delight. And as Constitution ran out along the ways, Captain Seaver broke a bottle of fine Madeira over the heel of the bowsprit. Now, the passage of time has seen changes in the way in which we launch our ships, but as a surface warfare officer myself, Captain Seaver's more than 200-year-old observation still rings true. It is indeed a sight today. It is a reminder of not just the tradition, but the importance of naval power and its utility. The sea will put every sailor that sails on it in awe if you sail its waves long enough. We are grateful for the power and the protection that Kansas City and the crew who will take her to sea and the shipbuilders who provided it and what it will provide this nation. To the crew of Kansas City, you have a great one here. She will take great care of you, and I know you will do the same. To the Austal family and our industry partners in attendance, all I can say is wow. It is a tradition in and of itself to be here under the ship for a christening. No other country builds vessels like the American industry. I walk aboard them all. I see them all. I speak from experience. You have indeed built a fine ship. Now, they've said much today about a ship derives its spirit from the sponsor that has been assigned. I will say two things that no one else up here can say. She is the ship, looks beautiful, just like its sponsor. And secondly, it is not to be messed with, just like its sponsor. On behalf of the Chief of Naval Operations and your shipmates across the fleet, to the crew, to industry, thank you, bravo Zulu. To the citizens of Kansas City, this warship is a great reflection of the strength and fighting spirit of your city. I have no doubt her crew will carry that same fighting spirit and defend the United States and our allies with aplomb. The ship, the Kansas City, like other ships in the LCS program, is highly maneuverable, able to operate in both the open ocean and the littoral, and will help defend the nation from the sea, halfway around the globe, so we don't have to fight here on our own shores. This ship will play a key role in maintaining the freedom of the seas because it can operate, hide, and provide protection from places other warships are not as capable as doing. She will help protect the United States and its citizens through deterrence, of course. And when that deterrence fails, if it fails, she will help defeat our adversaries to ensure the world's oceans and the littorals remain open for us and for all nations. Indeed, the seas and our ability to keep them open defines our prosperity. It's becoming increasingly more important as we return to great power competition in the Pacific and elsewhere on the globe. I look forward to welcoming the Kansas City to the west coast of the United States and the Indo-Pacific team. Your task, Kansas City, be ready to fight and win alongside our combined joint warfighting team in the Pacific. To Commander Gillespie and his crew, the people of the United States are entrusting you with this tremendous treasure. With it comes the accountability, the responsibility, and the authority to make it ready, to do all things right, and to be resolute in all the challenges that you will face. I know you will not take this duty lightly. Thank you to everyone here today who has worked to get the LCS 22 to where she is. If you are a shipbuilder in the crowd, I cannot imagine a more proud day to call yourself a shipbuilder and to see this ship sitting here. May God bless the future USS Kansas City, the United States Navy, and all who sail in it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Admiral. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce one of the most steadfast supporters of American sea power and shipbuilding in the United States. His tireless efforts have resulted in a stronger Navy, a stronger nation, and a stronger South Alabama. Ladies and gentlemen, our Congressman Bradley Byrne.
Good morning, everybody. For those of you who are not from Mobile, we do have 4 seasons: early summer, midsummer, late summer, and Christmas. Today is not Christmas. We welcome you here. Secretary Baer, we're honored to have you here. Admiral Davidson, we're honored to have you here. Admiral Nagley, we're honored to have you back. I'm glad to see you always. Admiral Davidson and I had the opportunity to visit with one another earlier this year at the REMPAC Naval Exercise in his headquarters in Hawaii, and he sat there for 2 hours and held members of Congress in complete attention because of his command of what he has under his area of responsibility out there. And Admiral, we have complete confidence in what you're doing in your command out there. To those of you from all the officials from Kansas City, we do welcome you here. And I particularly want to welcome my friend and colleague, Emmanuel Cleaver here. Emmanuel, you make me proud that you would come to my district. Thank you for being here. To the great sponsor of this ship, I've just met her, but it's tradition, as you know, that the spirit of the sponsor inhabits the ship. Loveliness and charm, but 2 other things, I think, in just the brief time we were together. You must have a fierce love for your country and for the Navy. She's just moved into her 22nd home. So I know you love your husband, but obviously you love your country and the Navy. That love of your country and the Navy will be in this ship, so thank you for that. To our great shipbuilders, John, you should be very proud of the extraordinary impact that your company's had here in South Alabama, but more importantly, on the United States Navy and what it does throughout the world. And thank you for the great shipbuilding team you've got here. To all the shipbuilders here, let me say this. Secretary Spencer called me earlier this week to give me the good news that we're getting 2 of the 3 littoral combat ships that were authorized and appropriated for this fiscal year. And in his phone conversation, he could not have been more effusive in his praise for the professionalism and the quality of the work that goes on at this shipyard. The buildings and the stuff that go in it, yes, they're important, but it's the people that make ships. And the people at Austal, Craig, are extraordinary people. I want to say something to the great commanding officer of this ship, Commander Gillespie. Folks, Commander Gillespie is a proud graduate of Auburn University, so we know that he knows how to win. As a proud graduate of the University of Alabama, I watched his alma mater beat my alma mater last year in the Iron Bowl. So we're glad to have an Auburn graduate commanding this great ship. To you and your crew, fair winds and following seas. What you will do with this ship and what you will do for the United States Navy in protecting America is so very important. We wish you God's blessings, God's protection, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Congressman Byrne. Again, I cannot tell you how much we appreciate your support and what you do for us and for South Alabama. It is now my great privilege and honor to introduce our principal speaker, the Honorable Emmanuel Cleaver II, United States Representative, Missouri's 5th District. He represents the city of Kansas City and is the former mayor of that great city. Sir, it is a pleasure to have you here in South Alabama and here in Mobile and participating in this ceremony.
Don't become alarmed. This is not all. In my real life, I'm a United Methodist pastor, and I understand people coming to church every Sunday, they want to love God, but they want to love Him quickly. And, so I'm not going to stay past the time that you stop listening. To my colleague, Byrne, and to all of you who made this day possible, but to my friends and co-workers from Kansas City, thank all of you for being here today and for all that you do all the time to make Kansas City great. Captain Gillespie, we look forward to having you in our city. And, you know, this was a well-built vessel, but in a storm, the survival of the ship is not just based on how well it's built, but by the leadership that is on that ship. And so, reading your biography, I am so pleased that you will be the first commander of the Kansas City. There are few moments in one's life to participate in or become a witness to history in real time. And this is one of those moments, and I appreciate this wonderful opportunity. This spectacular ship, named after Kansas City, the largest city in Missouri, which is located euphemistically at the junction of jazz and at the boulevard of barbecue, will soon transfer into the waters and become a part of this great Navy. Good luck and safe travels. But let me just say, I think there has been, frankly, unfair pressure placed on Mrs. Davidson to break the bottle on the first try. I think it's unfair, it's unnecessary, and we should not in any way put pressure on her. This is her first try, and just because it will be recorded in history for all times, there's no reason for this pressure. The U.S. Kansas City, by the time it is retired decades from now, without a doubt, will carry with it many stories and journeys that only a few are privileged to make. I am proud that the Navy chose Kansas City, a city I've represented as mayor during the 90s as its mayor and now as its member in Congress. Kansas City shares a unique history with the Navy. There's one story in particular that comes to mind regarding the Darby Steel Corporation and the Kansas City West Bottoms. In the 1940s and 50s, Darby produced LCTs, the landing crafts of tanks, during World War II. These LCTs were used in various missions and invasions across the globe. History states the skilled craftsmen and women, mostly women at that time, would build a ship in a day and then float them more than 1,000 miles along the Missouri and Mississippi rivers until they reached the Gulf of Mexico. It was the biggest shipyard operation in the entire Midwest region. And as told by two reporters, Haskell and Fowler, in one moving story, the company built about 60 of these vessels in Kansas City and Leavenworth for the Navy during World War II. However, the ships were relegated to the docks because the water was too low to sail them downriver. The Navy needed those vessels, and right away So they found a dam in Fort Peck, far up way in Montana, and ordered the water released from the dam. The water was released, but by the time it traveled all the way to Missouri, it only increased the water level by 1 inch. But by God's grace, days later, God raised the waters to 4 feet overnight with a great thunderstorm. Days later, Operation Overload was given the green light, and on June 6, D-Day, those same Midwestern barges built in Kansas City, Missouri were sent to the beaches of Normandy for the most consequential invasion in American history. That history was one great moment. To think where the USS Kansas City might end up in history is exciting. The reconfigurability of the ship makes it a force multiplier in any environment for the Navy. Perhaps this vessel will be crucial in search and rescue operations or a critical link in security operations. Perhaps it will be used to build partnerships with other nations by entering previously inaccessible, shallow water foreign to ports. What the future holds for this ship is anyone's guess. What I do know, without a doubt, is that the brave men and women who took an oath to uphold the Constitution and protect you and I and the liberty we hold so dear are the true heroes and protagonists of this story. They are the ones who will be making history. They are the ones who will serve on this ship and who will make all of us from this nation proud, but especially those of us from Kansas City. As you know, this is not the only vessel named in honor of the Show Me State. The USS Missouri, also known as the Mighty Mo, serves as a maker in history. It was the last battleship commissioned by the United States and is remembered to this day as the site where Japan formally surrendered, ending World War II. In fact, over 30 ships have been named after the state of Missouri, its cities, places, and people, including one of my personal inspirations, President Harry S. Truman. As I close, I want to convey that this ship will sail with the support of the entire city of Kansas City. Any sailor who steps aboard the USS Kansas City will find themselves an honorary Kansas Cityan and a constituent of mine, a voting constituent of mine. Go therefore, USS Kansas City. May the winds always be at your back. May the sun always shine on your deck. May you be held in the palm of God's hand. And God, please help Tracy break the bottle in one try. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I don't have to say it again now. You got God involved. That's great. Thank you, sir. It is now my honor to introduce our ship sponsor, Mrs. Tracy Davidson, a native of Missouri who graduated from Southern Methodist University. Tracy has committed her life to her family, steadfastly supporting her children and husband as he advanced at the highest levels of our nation's military, which, as said before, has taken her through 22 different homes. In addition to her family, she's dedicated her life to making things better for our sailors, soldiers, Marines, airmen, and Coast Guardsmen and their families. Most recently, serving as advisor to the Tidewater Officer Spouses Association, Tidewater Collection, Surface Officer Spouses, and Continuum of Resource Education, 4 military support organizations in Norfolk, Virginia. Tracy, we're so glad that you and your family could be with us here today. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you and your family. There's no doubt that Secretary of the Navy made the perfect choice and naming you sponsor of this warship. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Tracy Davidson.
The pressure. Good morning, or as we say in Hawaii, aloha. Okay, we can do better than that. Aloha. Aloha. Fabulous. I'm not going to name everybody again that's up here with me today, but I do want to thank them all for being here today on this fabulous day. I also want to extend a very special thanks to Austal USA for this fabulous day. And I would like to mention some important people not on the podium today and who are so important to the commissioning of the ship. Rear Admiral Penfield, Chairman of the Kansas City Commissioning Committee. Mr. Cook, Executive Director, Kansas City Commissioning Committee. Captain Brooks, Upper West Side, Midwest, Regional President, Navy League of the United States. Thank you for being here. So I worried a lot about getting up here and speaking today because I'm really not a public speaker. My husband, he does this all the time and he's really good at it. So that was intimidating. And then I thought, what can I possibly say that these people, important people that have spoken already, and make it interesting? And that was very intimidating too. And then it hit me. The one thing I do know about that none of these people on the platform do is being a Navy spouse. I have been a Navy spouse for 36 years. I love being a Navy spouse. I love my Navy. I love the Navy life. I love seeing these beautiful Navy ships. However, I also know why we have Navy ships. I know the importance of their mission. And I know very well that sometimes they go on these missions and they leave behind their families for months at a time. We, as Navy spouses, take care of the home front because that's what we do, our mission, so to speak. And all that working together, those that go to sea and the families that make the sacrifice of remaining behind, makes my Navy, makes our Navy the best Navy in the world. I must add, it's not just the ship doing its mission, it's the people behind the ship. It's the people that build the ship. It's the shipbuilders right here in Austal, USA, working day in and day out to make this warship, making sure it's safe for its mission. Thank you, Austal, and all the shipbuilders today. And thank you to your families. Without all of you, we would not be sitting here in front of this beautiful ship. And when she's built, she will be handed off to the captain and the crew and to do her mission. I know Commander Gillespie would rather be sailing the ship right now than sitting here on the platform. As a spouse of a Navy sailor, and now the sponsor, a little excited about that, of the USS Kansas City, I couldn't be prouder. I promise to support this ship throughout her life. I will be watching her as she does her mission. And I have a feeling the shipbuilders at Austal and the citizens of Kansas City will be doing so too. Now let's get this thing christened.
Tracy, we typically have sponsors that are excited about doing this, so that's great. As you said, we're going to get in the process of doing this, but right now I'd like to, before we conclude, I'd like to ask Lieutenant Junior Grade Sarah Powell, Chaplain Powell's from the Naval Construction Battalion Center, Gulfport, Mississippi, and she'll bless this ship. Will the guests please rise?
Good morning. What a privilege to be here today. I invite you to join me in prayer. Gracious Lord, look upon us this morning as we gather under the hull of this great ship. Lord, we are in awe of her beauty and power. Together we stand as one people, building and protecting our nation. We call upon you because we cannot move forward without your help, presence, guidance, blessing, and influence. we ask that your presence would indeed be with us this morning as this ship is named. May the vibrant life and culture of Kansas City, her namesake, inspire all those who serve upon her, reminding them of the precious freedoms they protect. Thank you for those who have tirelessly labored to build this breathtaking example of our nation's strength. Thank you for each one's perseverance and dedication to the mission. It is because of their faithful labor that we have arrived at this moment. Thank you also for her sponsor, Ms. Tracy Davidson. We pray your blessing over her as she cares for and watches over the ship and crew. May her spirit and character refresh all those who walk the decks of this great ship. Bless this ship, O Lord, and all who will ever sail upon her. Watch over her as she ventures out upon your waters. Bless her leadership with wisdom and integrity. Bless and protect her crew. May they not only stand as protectors of our nation, but may they also be notable representatives and ambassadors of it. And Lord, as she leaves our shores to travel the vast oceans, we pray that you will always return her to us, that no matter where duty may call, she will always return home. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Will the guests please be seated? It's now the moment we've been waiting for. We're going to christen the ship. Tracy, Congressman Cleaver, Commander Gillespie, would you please join Craig for the christening of this ship? Folks, you'll see most of it on the screen. We're going to go through the ceremony, and when it's done, we're going to I'll give you some instructions. Our reception and cake cutting will be there. You'll see it best on the screen, and we're going to get ready to go do this. Christening is the formal blessing of a vessel, and it's amongst the oldest traditions of the United States Navy. It marks the ship's transition from a mere hull number LCS 22 to a ship with a name and a spirit of her own. Seafaring nations across centuries have maintained a tradition of formally dedicating a ship into their fleet. The ship will begin her new life at sea, infused with their sponsor's spirit. Through today's ceremony, we commemorate this important milestone in the life of the future USS Kansas City.
For the United States of America, I christen thee, Kansas City. May God bless this ship and all who sail in her.
It's all about location. Hands down on the bottom. There you go. It's all about location.
Let's talk about pressure. Congressional pressure, divine pressure, peer pressure, family pressure, I want you on my team. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the formal part of the ceremony. I'm going to ask you to exit that way to the reception. We will keep the participants on stage for some photos. Please let us get the photos taken, and then we'll get back, and the cake cutting ceremony will be there in just a few minutes. Thank you very much.